Welcome to this demonstration of SmartGuide Designer, the tool designed to help business people create guided web applications. In this demonstration, we're going to build a web application that collects contact information from an end user and use that information to query a public web service, then create a schema-compliant XML stream with the data and populate an existing dynamic PDF form. We will do this by writing exactly 0 lines of code using the latest SmartGuide Designer. The first thing we want to do after logging into SmartGuide Designer is to define the smartlet's properties. We click on the action button, select Add Smartlets, give the smartlet a name, specify a code for the smartlet as well, and then click on the Create button. SmartGuide automatically creates the first page. You have the preview pane on the right and a list of elements that you can place on it on the left side. For instance, you can add text field passwords, drop-down lists, static text, or you can allow people to upload files. You also have an element called Embedded Smartlet, which allows you to create an application and then reuse that across any number of other applications. In addition to creating elements from scratch, you can define your own library fields and reuse them any number of times. To add elements to our Smartlet page, we can either double-click or drag them onto the page. Let's now create a text field that will serve to collect the user's zip code. Once the fields have been added to the page, we can define many properties. We'll start by providing the field name, zip code, and the field label which will be presented to the end user. One of SmartGuide's useful features is the ability to add contextual help to a field. Here we'll provide a simple tooltip explaining the zip code format we're expecting, and we'll also validate the field to make sure the data we are collecting conforms to our expectations. We'll start by making sure the end user provides a zip code. We'll then choose among SmartGuide predefined formats to make sure we're collecting a US-style zip code. The list of formats can be edited at will, and other validations, such as checking for minimum and maximum lengths, are also one-click affairs. Let's now close this. We can now view current page window and have a look at what we've built so far. Under the Action button, we'll select the View Current Page option, or Work in Progress is now shown using the assigned theme and template. This is a preview of how the application will look to the end user. Let's go back to SmartGuide Designer and add a page to our contact information. Smartlet will name this page, Page 2, and display the title address when this page is shown, just like we did when creating the first page. We'll import library fields that were previously defined. As you can see, this saves us a lot of time when building our Smartlet pages. Let's now make the Smartlet look more dynamic by creating a page that will be shown only under certain conditions. This will be Page 3. And it will be shown only to end users located outside of the state of New York, Delaware, or Pennsylvania. We'll reuse library fields that were previously defined to build this page. In this case, we'll place all the fields from the address US group. Let's now add a fourth and final page, which will serve to display a personalized message along with a recap of all the data or data summary that the end user has entered. To create a personalized message, we're going to add a static text field to the page and edit its properties. We will call this field Message and remove the default label. We'll then access the Value tab since we want to insert data the end user provided into our message. We can type some text in the editor and mix in some dynamic values by simply choosing the field that we want to incorporate into the value. We can also do something to the data we've collected before it's displayed to the end user. In this example, we're going to use one of the string functions to display the last name in uppercase. Right after our function will complete or personalized message by asking end users to review and edit, if necessary, the information they've provided. We'll then check the dynamic value box to make sure this value is recalculated in the event the user makes a correction to their name to display the relevant data recap. We can take advantage of this unique element provided by SmartGuide Designer. We've now found all our Smartlet elements, and we can see our application consists of 4 pages with a linear navigation scheme. What we want to do now is to edit the navigation rules of the first page and conditionally branch to the second page. The first condition added is based on the value of the zip code found on page 1. We'll check to see whether it starts with the number 1. We'll then add a second condition, also based on the value provided for the zip code on page 1. This condition will check whether the code starts with other than the number 1 since we want to branch to page 2 if either one of our conditions is true, we'll simply replace and with, or we also want to provide a fallback destination page in case neither condition is met. If that happens, we'll branch to page 3. After saving our changes, we can see that the page flow is updated to reflect our new navigation structure. Now see how SmartGuide can easily integrate with external systems and services for contact information SmartLit, but we're going to connect to an address verification service. When we choose to connect to an existing web service, all we need to do is to provide a user-friendly name along with the location of the web service description file or the WSDL. SmartGuide will then automatically extract all the functions, inputs, and outputs this service provides. Let's just have a quick look around to make sure the web service is running smoothly before we add it to our SmartLit. Under the Test tab, we find a list of operations and inputs, in this case postal code. If we enter a value and click the Test button, the service results are displayed in the preview pane as we can see here. Now that we know everything is working, let's go back to our SmartLit and add the connection. Under the Services tab, we simply click the Add a Service Call button, select the connection we just created, and select the operation we wish to use. The next step is to map the SmartLit fields with the web service inputs and outputs. We'll just edit the service call, select the postal code service input, and map that to the zip code the end user will provide on page 1. Let's now do the same with the service results. To pre-populate some SmartLit fields, we first choose the SmartLit field to wish to map and bring up the dynamic value menu, which now contains the list of service outputs. Let's go ahead and do a couple more mappings so the end user won't have to manually enter their street name and city. Right while we're doing the mappings manually, SmartGuide has a functionality that allows automatically mapping fields when they have matching names, as will be seen a bit later in this demonstration. Let's finish up by mapping a SmartLit state field with the state service return now that our mappings are set. All that's left is to define where and when we're going to call this web service. There are a couple of ways we can do this in SmartGuide Designer. In this instance, what we're going to do is make the service call when we're branching to page 2. Let's have a look at other things we can do with the data we've collected. Let's say we have an existing PDF form or an external system we want to integrate with. One way of doing this is by uploading an XML schema that defines the data structure. By mapping our SmartLit fields to the schema, we're in effect creating a fully compliant XML string. We can also use the same data we have collected to pre-fill PDF forms. This way we can present the data in an Excel format while making data entry a much more user-friendly process. As a final step, let's now create a couple of buttons that will allow us to generate these XML and PDF files. The first button we'll call the XML button. This will allow us to generate the XML stream, so we'll simply give it a label of a view XML. This will be presented to the end user. You'll notice there is a new Actions tab, and we'll choose to generate an XML file based on the schema we've just uploaded. We will repeat these steps of defining the button properties and actions for the PDF file. We'll name this button PDF BTN and display the label View PDF to the end user. We'll then select the generative PDF file action and select the file we want to pre-fill, which is the one we've just uploaded. Okay, so we're now done building our SmartLit. We've created 4 pages connected to a web service, mapped to an XD file into a PDF form. Let's now test our application to make sure everything is working as expected. Let's go through the SmartLit as if we were users ourselves. Just provide some sample data, enter the zip code. There's the tooltip we provided. If I enter this zip code here that starts with the number 1 normally, I should end up on page 3, which is the address outside of New York. If I go back to the previous page, change that zip code, and use one of the values, which I know is from the state of New York, I should end up on page 2. That's right, with the values pre-populated. When I move to the next page, I arrived at the data recap, which has functions that we've set. And also the View XML button, we see your data conforms exactly to the schema, and we also have the ability to view the PDF now, pre-filled with the same data. That concludes this demonstration of SmartGuide Designer. For more information on demos, please visit our website at alphanet.com.